Hello, Geezer.
Hello, mate. Off the records. Off the
How's
record
it going,
again.
mate? Good to
Not
see you,
too
dude.
bad, mate. Yeah,
Good to
you
see you,
too,
dude.
Nice.
What are you drinking today, son?
I've got myself Tanglefoot again.
Tanglefoot again, you liking it?
One of the videos, yeah.
I'm on the old Shipyard American IPA, which I first found in Wetherspoons.
Yep.
It's not too bad. It's not
one,
too bad.
Good one to find in the Wetherspoons,
It is,
mate.
mate.
But, yeah. So what are we up to today then, man?
Different one, I suppose, because it's going to be... we did want to start with kind of playing a bit of the Prodigy's music. I suppose, obviously, with the unfortunate recent suicide of Keith Flint, we wanted to do a kind of retrospective video, basically.
Almost like I suppose really we want to do a little bit of a tribute.
Yeah.
Look at one of the Prodigy tracks that kind of spoke to us a bit, I suppose.
We wanted to do that, but Sony unfortunately have blocked every effort we've had to play any music on the channel. But I said, let's have it as, I suppose, a little bit of a different video. We're not going to be playing any of the Prodigy's music because we can't.
No, we can't.
But
so,
we're gonna have a kind of a. This is what probably our 12th video, 12th video going out. So let's have a mid-chat video, talk about where Off the Record's going, and kind of discuss music and people and that sort of thing. So the Prodigy, I suppose they kind of like I was quite young really when they were really pioneering and smashing it out. I mean, 96 was The Fat of the Land.
That's
and
right.
that had kind of your Breathe and Firestarter. And I can remember, in the car, my old man, he must have thought he was cool. He was pretty cool, my old man, back in the day, to be fair. He still is cool, but he used to smash it out. He was into his mini discs then in 96. So he had it on mini disc in his car, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're the Firestarter, tested Firestarter." And he used to look at me and do that in the car. And I was like, "I'm going to die, focus on the road." And I remember my mother, I suppose, on a bit more sort of like conservative side, I suppose, was a bit sort of the Breathe video, what's wrong with these guys? Like, and,
Breathe, because that's like
Maxim with all the...
Maxim looks proper demonic in that video. I mean, Keith didn't look too safe, did he?
No, no. You want me to meet him in a dark alley.
Yeah. But, and plus there's sort of some quite horrible imagery in it as well.
There is, it's disturbing.
I
could see really an MTV video, and of course music videos were huge then, man, weren't they?
Yeah. It's a big time in the music video.
There was the MTV Music Awards, which was huge.
Yeah.
I think Prodigy actually won that twice.
I'm not sure about the awards sort of side of stuff, but I suppose really for me, I guess I'm kind of like you. I noticed the Prodigy more with things like Breathe and Firestarter and Smack My Bitch Up and stuff like that in that kind of late 90s period of their music. But I think I first heard them would have been like when I was in year 7 at school, which was like when I was like 12 or 11.
Yeah, see, because Rich is a bit older than me, so you probably would have caught their first...
I think that was their first single, Charlie. Charlie Says, that one, quite the really ravey stuff in it.
Well, they come out the techno, house, acid house, all that stuff. And I think that's the interesting thing with the Prodigy is they kind of became this like, the fact my old man and my mother were listening to it, and you mentioned to me it did really big in the States.
Yeah, I think really the Fat of the Land album was the one that
projected them right out there.
Yeah, it took them from that kind of like niche area in the sort of underground or the dance scene, so to speak. Let's call it the dance scene. It took them across the pond to America, and it gave them more global popularity.
Without question,
really,
and I think that they became a real household name, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I feel that we were talking about this earlier. It's really hard to talk about the genre of Prodigy.
I suppose if you took individual albums, you might be able to
go for it,
hone in a little bit. But like, there's so much variety over all the different albums. That I think it's hard to generally
It is. I mean, but I suppose it is big beat. It's got the production's got that kind of trip hop. It's got that hip hop element, I suppose, into a bit. But then it's got rock,
a bit of metal,
like electronic, heavy punk with Keith Flint.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. You said that you'd only really realised latterly, I suppose, without really thinking about it, not really being into punk as a youngster, that he was sort of, maybe pulling on or taking inspiration from the Johnny Rotten sort of, you thought it was more sort of almost like Young Ones sort of thing.
Well, I've not really ever really been into punk properly.
Punk music,
I've listened to a couple of bands here and there, and like I know obviously I know who Johnny Rotten is, and I've seen like things on the Sex Pistols and that, but it didn't really click with me that that's what Keith was maybe channeling a bit. Definitely. You know, he was channeling that a little bit. Like in my mind, like strangely and maybe comically, is that I thought Keith kind of looked a little bit like Vivian from the Young Ones for me, and
which I suppose was parodying,
which is kind of
Johnny
I'm
Rotten.
not saying that Keith was a parody, but what I'm saying is like, you know, in my childhood, the thing that Keith most resembled was Vivian's mental character, basically, like in that way. If you get what I mean, yeah.
I get you, but I think it's definitely. I mean, I kind of knew. I suppose being kind of like I got heavily into music when I was, you know, when I was sort of in my early teens, and really became like obsessed, with history sort of thing, and I still am. Yeah, I'm not quite as much maybe as I was.
Yeah. Calm down a bit.
Life.
Well, life gets in the way,
but you know, I feel like, and that's an interesting point we'll come on to talk about. I think Natalie, I want to just continue down this Prodigy route, but I think definitely they, you know, that they were an interesting band, kind of like, I mean, Keith really was a dancer first, from what I can gather, Keith Flint, before he became a vocalist.
Yeah, I think he is part of the lineup in the early stage, but I don't know. Obviously, I think he's a dancer, but I think he was part of the. Don't know too much about the history of the Prodigy as like its inception, but I do think that he was part of that inception that built the group together.
Definitely, and then he became a vocalist, and I think that's when the punk. That's when his persona was born.
I think he had that kind of like carefree 90s look about him, you know, on like some of the other tracks from, say, like the early 90s, like sort of 92 to 94, 5 or something. But then I think what I do remember is that that look that he came out with in 2000, you know, the Firestarter look, basically.
2006,
that was like complete different to like how he looked before. Because he used to have long hair and
that's
like,
right.
He almost went a little bit hippie-ish and stuff. You know what I mean?
But I think it's like you said as well. I think Prodigy would have brought in punks, metalers, rockers, hippies.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I think it's got like this whole thing.
They've got a big.
It's interesting now, and here's to find out. My colleague at work, Jackie. Let's see if you're watching. But she was saying that her brother used to slam it out of his room so loud, like the Prodigy, like so she had no choice but to listen to the Prodigy. You know? I feel like it really was huge, and I wish my mate Joel was here to talk about it, because I know he's seen Prodigy live. And he'd be able to give, because I know Keith was talking about, you know, the experience you get with the whole performing, you know, and the crowd, the interaction between. Right, this on.
Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Sorry.
The interaction kind of between.
He fed off the that sort of thing. Yeah.
And I suppose this comes so Prodigy for me, like I say, I definitely wouldn't say I was like an avid listener. I owned Fat the Land on, well, I nicked my dad's mini disc thing, but, you know, and, it was a case of, I think I definitely kind of didn't listen to them coming into the 2000s really, except when, Invaders Must Die came out and Omen was there. I was big into my horror films and into kind of like extreme metal is all satanic and the Omen, and it caught my attention again. And I like that track.
Well, we were heavily into our metal at that time, and it obviously would have. But like we're saying, you know, they drew in people from different areas and like
all over the place.
Like whereas some people are going to be hardcore Prodigy fans and they really like love everything they've done.
Yeah, well, and those people would have been at all the Massive Attack gigs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, all the Chemical Brothers.
That was their genre. They really liked listening to.
We was at the metal gigs sort of thing. So, but I wish I'd gone. And I, you know, that whole Bristol scene, from what I can gather, was
massive.
And still is pretty big. But I feel like it, you know, since I kind of like, I remember putting together like I learned to drive quite late. I was 25 when I learned to drive. And I was putting together like what do I want to listen to in my car? And straight away, Prodigy went into that playlist, and it's been circling around in my car here and then. But again, like you say, it was only really, you know, Smack My Bitch Up, you know, If I Start, I Breathe. I didn't really delve, and Omen.
Yeah.
The big title tracks.
I do like things like Outer Space.
Outer Space is a good track, I suppose, but it wasn't
higher. It wasn't as high up the list as those ones. You like, because I think that Attitude era of Prodigy, like with those really sort of hyper visualized and really pounding kind of songs, I'd say they will be my favourites as well.
And you got to think of it when they've, you know, if there's any consolation, you know, like I said, while I really don't want this to be like a Keith Flint's died and now these two guys are talking about the Prodigy. Because, all right, okay, that's brought it up to the forefront, but the Prodigy they've definitely run on my playlist for the years.
We're music lovers at the end of the day.
Without question.
And look, you know, I can respect what they've done, and I do enjoy their music. Like, you know, not all, you know, I haven't heard all of it, but, you know, I do enjoy
the vast majority you have heard, you like.
Yeah, I like.
I think we tried to check out the newest album, and the production was right up there.
Yeah,
it was a bit too full on the compression.
Bit compressed, yeah.
But and that's another thing I bring up. This is always a good sign of a good mix and a good bit of music, because you know, listening to the Prodigy the last couple of weeks, it's pissed my neighbours off in my flat, and it's pissed his neighbours off in his flat. So I think, and I don't recall listening to music particularly any louder, but I think just the dynamics of that Fat is Fat Lad, the way they've banged the, you know, boom, ding, 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 boom, it really smashes through, which is great for dance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they really did well with that. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the second part of this video, we kind of undenied about whether to speak about it, and I think we should. But, you know, why is it that we've got all these guys, you know, in the last what?
Well, I mean, it's never really stopped, but I mean,
we're losing people left, right, and centre.
It seems to be quite prolific at the moment, and it's not just rock stars and or pop stars, whoever. You know, it's not like famous people. There's normal everyone's a normal everyday person, if you get what I mean. But like people not in the public eye.
Why they're killing themselves, basically.
The same thing's happening, and it's like...
It's sad, man. Like, we're basically, we're about to, since doing Off the Record and starting up, you know, talking about doing some music projects and stuff, we're going into a flat share.
Yeah.
So we can do these videos a lot more and whatever else. So we're walking around, looking at 2-3 bedroom flats. What should we do? Put a studio there, do this, do that. And, we went to one of the local pubs just to get something to eat, like, and kind of go through the list of stuff we'd seen and what would work. And as on my watch, I just got a notification, and I said to Rich, like, Christ, Keith Flint has died. And this geezer was just in the pub, and he just popped in for lunch, and he sort of like... He came over and sort of, which pissed me off a little bit actually at the time.
Well, it's because we were like trying to be private
sort the flat
and talk about flats, but yeah.
He came over and was like, "You're joking," kind of thing, and it really sort of like, and again, even my mum, again, it was interesting, you know, she didn't like the Breathe video, and she actually sent me the Breathe video on Facebook Messenger going, how sad, you know, kind of thing. So it goes to show you, it was a household name.
Yeah.
But, you know, why, you told me, and I didn't know that he did do it. I knew he renovated and started running a pub in Essex near his house. But you're quite into it. We say on the MotoGP.
Well, hang on, there's a funny story about that pub as well. I can't remember what the pub's called.
It's like the Leatherman or the Leatherhead or the...
Something like that. But maybe it's a famous pub in Essex or something.
I think he renovated it.
He renovated it, yeah. And I don't know if he was the bar, like the landlord, and he was working behind the bar or anything like that. But he apparently, like, he had a jar for if someone took the piss out of him, if someone made a fire starter joke whilst he was lighting the fire in the pub. I thought that's quite...
Well, they had to put some money in
to put some money in the jar. Yeah, that's quite funny.
I think that's and as well, like, another side note to it, I think he was a bit of a legend on TripAdvisor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently if someone went on TripAdvisor, like, talking shit about his pub, he was quite amusing about it in his not like having a go at them directly. Apparently they were very, it was very eloquent and very well written. Yeah, like, you are an absolute wanker, basically. But not saying that. So I'd like to actually, I think that's funny. I might have to have a look into that.
Well, I was watching, I can't remember the dates, got the dates mixed up now, but I think it was last weekend. I was watching MotoGP, which is like the premier motorcycle racing. And this whole segment for, basically they paid the Prodigy and Breathe to a montage of the kind of opening of the new season of MotoGP.
That's cool.
So you got all the different like blokes who are probably going to be who are going to fight for the World Championship this year, and then loads of really nice like action footage of what happened the previous season, like in the last championship. And I thought that was a really good sort of homage to the Prodigy, well, you know, and Keith. And I thought, well, all right, they're playing some Prodigy because, you know, Keith has passed. And I thought, well, why would MotoGP specifically choose that? Is there any reason? Is there any reason for that? And I had a read up on it, and I didn't realise this until a couple of weeks ago, because I'm not massively into motorcycle racing, but I do enjoy watching the MotoGP. But he had his own motorcycle team.
What was it called?
I can't remember what his motorcycle team was called now, but he had his own motorcycle team.
I'm going to look into this.
They won. They won the Isle of Man TT in 2015.
Team Traction Control.
Team Traction Control. That's it.
Which won 3 Isle of Man TT races in 2015.
That's right.
And I completed the British Super Sport
Championship. Yeah,
I never knew that.
So you know,
he had stuff.
He had stuff in the pipeline in the background. Other things he was doing. So like you know. I suppose like this, the reason why we're talking about these other aspects of it is because this is kind of leading us into a kind of deeper talk or wider talk about depression and suicide. And,
well, I think it's kind of like, I get annoyed with the whole mental health thing because to me it's like, you know, everyone's so woke and so aware, yet they haven't got a clue. I feel like a lot of people haven't really got a clue what they're talking about, you know. And I'm fairly open with most people who know me that I've had mental health issues throughout most of my life, you know. And I think there's definitely ways of dealing with things. Most of the time, I'm fine, you know. But it's and I think through laughter and doing things like me and Rich do with this channel and things like that, it's definitely a channel of positivity for me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this channel's just about like trying to have a bit
off the record.
Off the record, we're just having a few beers, talking about things that interest us, basically, and
reminiscing. And I suppose it's a way of you know, if I ever, you know, I laugh looking back on them, but you know, if it's documenting your life and it's documenting things, and it's doing it in a we're sharing and hoping to communicate, create some conversation. But I feel almost like, you know, I never understand that stance people take where it's like, well, what's wrong with him? You know, one of the biggest bands, you know, worldwide or whatever, huge success. He had a motorcycle team. He had a pub, and it's like, well, yeah, but you know, life can be deeper than that. And I feel like really, unless someone's kind of like, I mean, I'm not saying that I've been necessarily perhaps where Keith's been, but you know, like I think if it's a case of, you know, something happened to him to make him go to that place, and I feel like you can't really. That's quite personal and something that's almost like some deep dark place in the back of your mind that maybe not many people end up going to. You can't judge it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like the kind of people who sort of shrug suicide off as like that person was weak, or you know, that person, you know, should have just waited a couple of days, or whatever. Then you get some silly comments about suicide, don't you? Basically,
you do.
And I just think that those kind of people, you know, obviously speculation, but I think those kind of people are just arrogantly ignorant to the fact of suicide.
It's horrible. They don't know about it.
And yet, in some way, they know that they could possibly be capable of it, and it scares them, so they kind of shrug it off and say it's like a rubbish, if you get what I mean.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I totally get where you're going with that. But I mean, obviously, we don't know what was going on in Keith's life. Only Keith knows what was going on in his life. But I did read that he was living in a big fucking house on his own.
Right.
Because
his wife had left or something. He'd had some rows.
I think I think he might have had a divorce or something. But I'm not saying that was the reason why. But I'm saying that things can.
He was on his own, basically.
Things can compound, right? And I'm obviously the toxicology report hasn't.
No, we don't know if he's pissed.
We don't know if he was. But you know, if you're on your own inside your house and you ain't feeling too great, and you start going on this stuff, and then if you add anything else to it or whatever,
nostalgia.
That's I mean, I've been there. I ain't saying I've been there to that level. I ain't, you know, I've been down some dark paths, I'd say, like during my life. And you can get there. Like I've been living on my own for like the last year, and I've had a couple of dark times, man. You know, and it's not good. So like, what I'm trying to say is that people, I think, especially like, I think this needs to be kind of raised, is that males of sort of Keith's age are like the highest
59, 56, yeah.
Are like the highest. What do you want to call it, a statistic? But like statistically, they're the most.
Men are killing themselves. Men
that apparently in the UK, men make up 3/4 of all suicides. Right. So what the fuck is going on, basically? And,
I can't. I mean, you could go back down the whole route of the whole existential conversation. You know, people have perhaps lost their maybe blokes at the moment specifically in society they don't really know what their place is, or perhaps with someone in Keith's example, maybe music was his life and that was what really gave him that big energy, and perhaps he didn't feel that anymore, or that side of him had died, sort of thing, you know. And I suppose like although we've said that he had the, you know, his own motorcycle team, he was running his pub, maybe those things didn't really.
Maybe they didn't quite fulfill that same
music,
thing.
And he saw that side of his life going, perhaps, and his wife's not there, and he's on his own, and I think that's right. I think you can't really speculate.
Everyone's story is different. Isn't
I know
it?
He was saying to his wife, will you come home? Yeah. And she was saying no. Right. But that's, you know, if it's an unhappy relationship, it's not her fault. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a case of like, and as well, I know that I read a report. There was a picture of him in the pub with his personal trainer, and I think he'd just run his
because he'd just running like a personal best in
his running. He'd been getting fit and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that he was having a pint sort of thing, and I think he'd said to apparently he's in good spirits, and I think he said to his trainer, look, is it all right if I take a couple of beers, a couple of ciders back home tonight? And I suppose it's like, well, you just run. But like you say, something else must have happened, like to
that's the thing, isn't it? Like Well, no, I mean, you know, if you're living on your own, like, and you start fixating on dark things, like things that are wrong with your life, the alcohol will,
and nostalgia, I think, is a really horrible thing.
It all compounds, and like you might start thinking about your problems more because you're isolated, and especially if you're intoxicated, you start becoming self-destructive. Right. I have, and you know, it is a danger. It is a danger. So like,
I think so, and I think as well, when we're talking about. I mean, what we've had obviously we've had Keith Flint, and bearing in mind there's going to be some people I've even forgotten, but you know, Chester Bennington,
Chris Cornell,
we've had even going, you know, Whitney Houston. All right, you probably could blame Bobby Brown for some of that, but you know, she that was an overdose. Not perhaps, I don't think she tried to kill herself, but it was an overdose, purely an issue. People like Michael Jackson, you know, where he was basically medicating. Because he self-medicating, which killed him.
Yeah.
You know,
but that all leads
to
the same kind of snowballing effect.
And I think one thing we saw earlier today, didn't we?
Was
the video was the video of
the TMZ video.
So Johnny Rotten. What's the geezer's name? John Lydon. He'd been out to the club, hadn't he?
He'd been out somewhere getting, you know, having a drink
with his mates, and they've kind of. Waiting for him outside the club, and he was pissed.
Yeah, they pounced on him basically to try and get some soundbite out of him.
And he seemed
genuinely cut up.
He seemed really cut up about it, and he feels horrible for Keith. And he said that he was alone and unloved. And why does the industry kind of leave these people like on their own? And the thing I liked about it, and I think it was genuine, he was kind of almost saying, "You can come and talk to me."
Kind of thing. Yeah. And I'd believe him as well. Like, I wouldn't.
Do you know what I mean?
He was just saying that, like, you know. Whatever.
So I thought the way that they did it, and you said that to me, it was.
Yeah, I just felt like they pounced on him to try and like, because like you know, some of you may or may not know, but like you know, there are certain stages of being drunk where, you know, you can be a soppy sod and like.
Well, you're kicking off large.
Be playful, but then like if you're angry and miserable and whatever, especially like if you just lost someone who you really cared about, say, and you were pissed, and someone come up to you sticking a camera in your face, they might have been looking for a reaction, you know, to that, and
then they use it. Look at
this idiot.
Yeah, unruly. I feel like that's what I'm saying. And either way, it would have been good for them.
Yeah, it would have been good for them because they've got loads of views.
Yeah, I feel like I felt that, but it seemed like. I've seen that he's on there, you know, like, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And I've seen him on various, I think sometimes I'm a bit like, really, mate, but I think he is pretty.
He plays the fool, mate.
He plays it, he was, what was he saying, but with Jimmy Savile, he got him down to a teammate, didn't he, years ago?
He was mentioning Jimmy Savile, and no one listened to him, you know, he wasn't
scared to say years ago.
He had the integrity to say that this Jimmy Savile's a dodgy geezer, basically.
And he was, dodgy. Yeah. So, and I think, but mind, I could have told you that. I don't know how that was missed. But anyway,
fucking shell suits. He wore the shell suits or tracksuits.
Everything about it was wrong.
Say he's a dodgy bloke.
But like, I just feel like it's a case of like, why does that happen? You know, why do you know? It must be that people can't fulfil that feeling or whatever perhaps that they had in their earlier life. You know, they all say the good die young, and you know, the rock and roll mantra and the metal mantra for years has been, you know, like die young, live fast, die young.
Fast, die young. But I guess. Well, look, I mean, like...
Didn't quite work for Lemmy.
Lemmy just didn't die. He was bulletproof, wasn't he? Lemmy, that's the problem with Lemmy. He was bulletproof, old Lemmy. But I think see, the problem with, well, I don't know, it's kind of hard to condense into a short conversation, but like, the problem with bands, say like the Prodigy, and say a band like Iron Maiden, the Prodigy had like a huge explosion of popularity quite quickly, say. I mean, all right, they did have like a lot of popularity in the early 90s, but when obviously Firestarter and Breathe and all that came out, they blew up, didn't they? They blew up.
Yeah, massively.
And then from that initial blow up, I'm not going to say it's like shrunk in terms of like their overall popularity, but I'm saying sort of like the focus and the sort of magnitude of them being in the spotlight and being flavour of the month, so to speak. It's like quite a I'd imagine it would be quite a good feeling to be in that situation.
Well, you never hear Big Beep stuff played now.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I think their fan
base has grown organically, but not from word of mouth, maybe. Yeah. I'd say like, and what I'm trying to say is like, so they burnt really brightly, and then like maybe commercially in the traditional sense, they've sort of petered out, but they've still got that solid fan base that probably expanded over the years. Yeah. Whereas Iron Maiden never really exploded. They just started small and just slowly grew, and just, never had any radio play. Like only metalheads really liked them, I suppose. Yeah. And they've just done the same thing, and it's just gradually grown for them.
The bigger stage shows, more audience, more. Let's put a bigger Eddie up.
Yeah,
But I don't know really. I do kind of feel like you can't. I think when someone as well. I think this is the other thing as well is like, why did no one reach out to him? And I think that's got its place. I think with the awareness when you're talking about mental health and depression, anxiety and bipolar and all these other names and brackets and things that people put on these things. I think it's a case of, yes, it's, of course, you need to kind of be there for people and people need to kind of like, it's nice to know that there's someone actually who kind of gives a shit about you. But also, I think for me, like at my peak when I wasn't feeling too well, the worst thing was you'd be sitting in a room with all your people, all your best people in the world, but you still sort of feel like you're on your own. And that's the worst feeling I've ever experienced when you're with your nearest and dearest and people you'd sort of give your right arm for, but you don't feel like you're in the room. You feel like you're
disconnected from it.
You're floating up there somewhere, kind of thing.
I know that feeling. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think it's a very difficult conversation to have.
It is. Well, I mean, I think part of it is like a symptom of our society because really everyone's so isolated, even though we're more connected than we, this actually, saying this now sounds a bit cliche, but even though we're sort of more connected by technology today.
It's fake connection, isn't it?
Yeah. There's that not physical, but like that emotional connection that you just don't get through a fucking mobile phone or Facebook or whatever else. Right. And I'm talking about this, not just about, obviously, Keith, I'm talking about this in the context of the wider problems of society, say, today, in that people are just so isolated today. They are but
I feel like that as well is down to population and I can't remember now. I think you were telling me about this some years ago when that study was done on rats.
Oh, the rat utopia experiment.
Where it was kind of like the perfect environment for rats. It became overpopulated. Yeah. And the rats stopped basically procreating. Yeah. And they just the men all walked around grooming all day and fighting over the odd female rat who was sort of putting out or whatever. Yeah. And then they all died.
Yeah, they all died out.
It's sort of like, well, so, and in Japan, let's talk about Japan.
Yeah, they're going through that sort of thing.
There's a whole sort of, there's a whole name now for, and it's males, isn't it?
Herbivore men, it's called.
And they don't go out or something, you told me.
They don't leave the house, only leave the house at night, I think, is what it is.
I don't know how they work or what.
Fuck knows, they probably do like jobs where they work at night. Home or something, or work at night.
But you've got a whole society, and Japan's a very populated city. I mean,
Tokyo's the biggest city in the world, isn't it?
Keith was in Essex. Yeah. It's full of people. I'm in London. I feel like that perhaps is an element of it as well. Is it? It's just too much. I need my little community back. I
want to just it's back in the old days. Like people never used to lock their doors, did they? The neighbours used to be able to just. Nobody had fuck all anyway. That's the problem. There was nothing to rob, so like. people will just walk in each other's houses and hello.
From what I read, your doctor's was in the pub.
Yeah, and
your doctor. So you go, if you lost your dog, you go and talk to the pub landlord, and he'd know everyone.
And they were set off where we've seen it. Yeah.
So it's, it was the hub of. I don't know whether that's true around the world, but I think definitely in England or in the UK. Your pub really was, you had your church and I suppose your local pub.
Was your hub, yeah.
And the church, I suppose, which is a bit of a weird thing coming from a couple of metalers, but that was definitely a part of our...
Western society is built on
religion.
The church and
without
religion.
Question.
I mean, it's, it's a bit off topic now, but I guess really, like, it's a big conversation. I just think that, like, I think that the message is from me particularly, and maybe from yourself, is like that, if you do find yourself in that position where you think, I just fucking had enough, I can't do anymore. I've been there. I've definitely been there. I'm not going to lie.
Same. But the thing is, ultimately, life is worth living, mate.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say is just pick up the fucking phone and just
call your mate up or whatever, your mum or whatever.
Just talk to somebody, because anything that's going to delay you from making an impulsive decision is good. And, like, at the end of the day, death is inevitable. This is what I've always remembered, is that death is inevitable, right? So why not just wait until it happens naturally?
Yeah. Exactly.
Do whatever you can to...
I think that's a good message, really, mate, really. It's a case. And as well, I think you've got to sometimes choose, sometimes perhaps calling up that mate who just wants to have 10,000 beers maybe is not the best way to go as well. Like, and
that's why I never call you.
Yeah,
mate.
well, sorry, mate, but it is a thing as well. I think it's I've heard many sad stories where someone was feeling a bit down, they call up on a mate. That mate thinks the way to treat it is to take them uptown and get them smashed, and then. It's just triggered more issues, but it's definitely despite we're off the record and we're drinking every bloody video, there is what is worth mentioning that as well.
Of course. So
it was very sad to hear about Keith, and I instantly messaged a bunch of people like, I can't believe this, and they're all like heartbroken, mate. I can't, because it is part of their youth and part of their soundtracks of their without question.
Prodigy was a massive part
of
loads of people's like youth, man. Like anyone who was like born in the 80s or the 70s, say they're. There's going to be a lot of people in them two brackets
that's right,
either grew up as a teenager loving the Prodigy, or they were out banging it large, in the clubs like when the Prodigy had just started kicking off. So and then you got the later generation who would have seen the Firestarter and things like that as well. But like Mikey Boy there, I guess, I suppose, he's a bit younger in that.
Definitely, but I think anyone probably studying music at uni, if you're looking into like, history of music and the progression of music, it's a band that would come up alongside like Radiohead, all those kind of bands, the Beatles.
Oh, they're a big band, man. There's no denying. I mean, we wouldn't sit here and talk about like the Prodigy, if they weren't relevant. If we didn't think that they were
No,
nothing to write home about. I respect the Prodigy. I respect Keith. All that lot.
Maxim, all the guys.
That's why I felt like it was the right thing to do, is do this video. I mean,
absolutely.
I definitely didn't want to do this wrong. I just wanted to try and cover some of the the aspects. I think it's just maybe people I'm going to come to this channel to hear something so deep. They come in here for off the record, but I think as well, for me, I wanted to kind of demonstrate that, like, we are human as well, and we kind of get we don't spend all day drinking, listening to music. Do you know what I mean? At all, like, it's kind of like we wish we could, but
it's not going to happen.
Shit happens.
Shit happens or whatever. But it's going to be. I mean, we had this conversation again. One of my colleagues at work was kind of saying, "Oh, they're playing the Prodigy now," like kind of thing, and I'm like, "Well,
they will do. They will do,
because it's on everybody's mind, kind of thing." But and I think it perhaps is a shame that it wasn't played as much. It has been nice to hear the Prodigy played on mainstream radio as opposed to like just repeating Ariana Grande.
Well, the funny thing is, mate, though, like, I mean,
I actually like some of those Ariana Grande songs, by the way.
Well, like when we went to America, where
they were playing more.
How many times did you walk into a restaurant or something and you heard some fucking decent music.
Guns N' Roses, or
you go into anywhere in the UK and they're playing all the bollocks pop that's just throwaway crap.
The thing I hate about it as well is it's like they all license the same CD.
Yeah.
So wherever you go, it's the same music, CD. You know, or the same plate or whatever they get it these days. But yeah, in America, I must admit, you go into like a normal shop.
And they're
playing Guns N' Roses or some country music, or whatever, you know, John Denver was on, or
something half decent, you know. Like,
that's definitely something I picked up on, and that seemed to be all right. We hit the West and the East and the West,
yeah.
But it seemed to be, I didn't hit Middle America. I didn't.
No, but everywhere we went, there was all like obviously you walk into. All right, this is a bit beside the point, but anyway, I just think that like we were saying, like, you know, it's like when David Bowie died, you know, like suddenly they were playing fucking David Bowie. It just happens because people think, oh fuck, he's gone, and then
they get nostalgic about their own.
Right, you know, all your memories rush back. That's right. Like times you listen to, you know, because that's the big thing about music, isn't it? It's like that. Sometimes when you listen to a song, you can instantly place you in a part of time or whatever. Like whenever I hear that Charlie song, mate, I get some strange memories from like my early school days, which are really fuzzy and hazy, but it really brings up strange fucking it was really weird nostalgia vibe. It was kind of a bit scary, a bit weird. It's a bit double-edged sword there. But
not sure how you feel about it. Not sure how you feel about it. But I think you know, like a little bit of a message from us. Obviously, it's an opportunity for us to have a little bit of a break from the kind of like, you know, the big laughter and perhaps the more, you know, we touch on serious subjects, and off the records go into hopefully a more productive level. You know,
so look, I mean, look, at the end of the day, big shout outs to the Prodigy. Sorry about Keith passing and everything. And you know, I hope we did this right. I hope we didn't like that. This doesn't feel contrived and that. We did really want to try and have a proper conversation about it. So I hope we've done that. I hope we covered all the bases. Obviously, we could talk for a long time on this, so we don't want to. I don't want to go on too much longer, mate. No. So yeah, I think that's I think we should.
And I think from this video as well, the thing for me as well is I don't even want to finish with the whole like, you know, like, subscribe, all that rubbish. I think bollocks. If there can be some conversation.
Yeah, if anyone wants to have a chat about any of it, whatever, that's all good.
I think that's a way.
We'll definitely be interested in having a chat to you guys. So so thanks for that. And well, you know, I don't really know how to finish the video, to be honest, son. But I think we'll just finish with cheers.
Cheers. I'm going to put the Fat Land on.
Yeah, cheers, and we'll listen to some songs, I think, and chill out. So
absolutely. Cheers, guys. Look after yourselves,
guys, wherever you are, and look after yourselves. Take care. Off the record.
Off the record, mate.